Hello and welcome to the review of The Hateful Eight by the Geeks Assembled. Today we're going to be reviewing the eighth film by Quentin Tarantino. So let's start off with Lee.
Thanks, Connor. First thing I have to say is I found out in the past week that Tarantino is not everybody's cup of tea to sit down and watch. But for me personally, I don't mind his films because there's a lot of plot twists and he doesn't hold back on shall we say, the violence and the language. It's sort of a bit of realism film with Tarantino. But this one, yeah, The Hateful Eight, a story of 8 people together in one place. It's very good. It's more of a character talking heads sort of scenario because I mean, at the beginning where it's the winter, the scenery outside on the stagecoach, it's filmed beautifully. But as soon as they get into Minnie's, is it haberdashery or whatever it's called? That's when it really takes off. And every actor is just brilliant in this. And you've got some regular actors who always do appear with Tarantino. Kate Russell is brilliant as the hangman. Samuel L. Jackson, I can't fault Samuel L. Jackson. What a brilliant actor. And shows big thumbs up for the Brits in with Tim Roth. What a brilliant actor. He always plays brilliant parts in any film he's in, and this one is no exception. What can I say? Yeah, it's full of violence. It's full of as the language goes, some people may be shocked because there is a lot of usage of the N word, shall we say? But to make that's been put to make it more realistic for the time it's set. That was mostly commonly used on a everyday basis back then, just after the American Civil War. It's a bit different from the Tarantino. It's usually gangsters, whatever. But this, for me, I like it. It's not one of his best. So for that reason, I'm going to give it a 7.5. It's worth a watch, but a 7.5. He has done better, but that's my score for now.
So 7.5 from Lee. What does Susan think of The Hateful Eight?
I'm a pretty long-term Quentin Tarantino fan. I started watching his movies when I was in university. I went to film school in Montana, and people were really fond of Pulp Fiction and some other ones. And so I've been watching his movies all along. I enjoyed Hateful Eight. Hateful Eight has a definite sort of angry tone to it. It starts off more than it's not as lighthearted as the other movies that he's made. The characters are in a road trip to a place in the middle of the winter out time, and there was a bar next to that place, and so most of the action takes place in those two places, like the barn and in the little in the little cabin that on the outside is little, but on the inside it's huge. It was like kind of, dimensionally transcendental in that way. And then there was Daisy Domergue is going to get hanged, and she ends up being her character arc. I'm going to talk about her. Her character arc was really interesting. She went from being the victim, seemingly, because she was in chains in the carriage on the way in the wagon. Sorry, because that's not really a carriage, but it's a wagon train to the place, and then there's and then she becomes sort of the focus of a lot of violence. Every time they turn around, somebody's slugging her in the cheek, and she gets covered with blood and stays completely drenched with blood throughout the whole rest of the movie. And then and unlike some of the other Tarantino bits, there was a conscious effort to keep her out of the sexual spotlight. There was a rape of a man in a different scene, but the spotlight wasn't on her, and so then she became like the leader of this huge gang, and then there was this massive slaughter. So it was pretty intense and pretty gruesome, but fun to watch. I loved all the gunplay because it was like right in your, like from here to my door, just so close. It was like people pointing guns, and then and never thinking twice about once it's anyway. That was fun too, and I suppose, and I loved the little bit of flashback about what had gone on that had led to all this, but the humor was really apparent that there was some aim towards humor. Anyway, that's what I liked about it, and that's what I thought about it, and I'll give it an 8 for no, I'll give it a 7.5 for the Hateful Eight. I won't give it an 8 for the Hateful Eight. I'll give it a 7.5 because yeah, it wasn't like Lee said, it wasn't his best work ever. So good to watch it though. That's all I've got.
So another 7.5 for the Hateful Eight. What does Kevin think?
Well, about to misquote you, Connor, it's Tarantino's 10th film, not 8th. So this was my first Tarantino film. Wait. Yeah. Oh, the 8th. Wait, what the hell? But there's... wait. He's done Revenant Dogs, Pulp Fiction, Kill Bill, Kill Bill 2, Death Row, Jackie Brown, True Romance, Inglourious Bastards. Ah, well. Never mind. I got this box, but I haven't watched any movie of it yet. But The Hateful Eight was my first experience with Tarantino. And I really liked the music. Ennio Morricone returned, just like John Williams for Star Wars. And Ennio Morricone returned to the Western genre for his good music. And the funny thing is, there's almost no music in this movie, only in the beginning and some parts between the scenes. And that's very cool, because Tarantino has shown that you can watch a movie even without music if the dialogue is still interesting. So and it was really, there were some jokes with the N-word, of course, and it was really funny when he was sitting in the that car that was driven by the horses, and then that girl spit on Lincoln's leather, and then Samuel Jackson punched her in the face, and Kurt Russell was going with it. I laughed it. Really, that was funny. And I liked it, that two quotes of Samuel Jackson Warren. He said, move a little strange, you're gonna get a bullet. Not a warning, not a question, a bullet. That was just brilliant. And the ending was surprising. And Channing Tatum has a small role in it for the last half hour. And it's very bloody, like I expected to. And I'm going to give it 7.5 out of 10 for all the performances.
So another 7.5 out of 10 for the Hateful Eight. What does Alex think of the Hateful Eight?
Hi everybody. Sorry about that. I was having internet and sound problems, but it seems to be fixed now. It was an interesting movie. I know it's going to be a violent movie. I didn't like the use of the N-word. I know they would use it back then. I'm not encouraged, and I wasn't raised around violence, so it is a little too violent. The last 30 minutes of the film were very difficult to watch because of Samuel L. Jackson's character and what he does, and then he sort of starts attacking people and other things that happened. And it is interesting, you know, how they filmed it, and they sort of swerved around, you know, the beginning, the middle, the end. And
chapters.
I'm sorry?
With chapters.
Right. And then the other question is, he's made over 30 movies, according to the internet, from the 80s to now. But it was smaller movies back then. But in any case, it is an interesting movie. I'm glad I saw it. It's just not my style. I'd rather be watching Blazing Saddles or whatever. But if you want a lot of characters and you want a lot of interplay and you don't mind being offended, you don't mind the swearing and the violence, you probably will enjoy this movie. But it's not for me. I'm glad I saw it, but it's not for me. Personally, I'd probably give it a 6, but probably artistically, it probably needs a 7.5, probably.
Well, Samuel Jackson got shot in the balls in the last
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't want to see that in any movie. Sorry, I don't want to see it in real life, and I don't want to see it in a movie, so.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
It's all right. Well, for me, I think the Hateful Eight, it's not my favourite Tarantino. I think my favourite Tarantino would be Inglourious Bastards and Django Unchained. And for this one, it has a really strong cast. I mean, you've got Kurt Russell, you've got the sort of Tarantino mainstay with Samuel L. Jackson, and you've got all sorts of like new sort of talent that hasn't really been in any Tarantino films before, because usually Tarantino likes to reuse actors in loads of his films. Like Samuel L. Jackson, I believe, has been in all of his films, all of his main films anyway. And you've got like Walton Goggins, you've got what's the name of the woman actress?
Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Yeah. She's not been in, as far as I'm aware, she's not been in a Tarantino film before. You've got Channing Tatum, obviously, as Kevin said, has got a minor role in the last half an hour. So yeah, you've got a mix of sort of, and Kurt Russell as well, actually, hasn't been in a Tarantino film, as far as I know.
Death Proof.
Oh, Death Proof, yeah. So I think, as cast-wise, it's not the strongest film, but it's got a really good cast of sort of new and old faces in the Tarantino sort of universe. I think character-wise, I like Kurt Russell's character. I like Samuel L. Jackson's character. I really like Tim Roth's character. I think he's like the best of them all. And even Walton Goggins as the newly appointed sheriff of Red Rock was a really good casting for the role.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think at the beginning when with Walton and Kurt and Samuel L. Jackson, where they're reminiscing over the Abraham Lincoln letter, and they find the newly appointed sheriff on the side of the road and stuff. I think that's a really sort of funny scene, and there's just so much chemistry between Samuel L. Jackson and Kurt Russell. Yeah, I think overall it's a really good film. As Lee said, this is sort of like a talking heads piece. There's a lot of action in it, but it's not as gory as most of Tarantino's films. And I do like how it's kept interesting, even though it's set mostly in a sort of shop area in the middle of nowhere during a blizzard. I think that's the most interesting and strongest part of the film. It's just how interesting and how smoothly it runs, despite it being held just purely in one location for the majority of the film. I like the sort of psychological aspects of it, where it's playing on paranoia and stuff. Like who do you trust, who don't you? And it turns out that I don't think they can trust anyone. They all start killing each other, and no one survives in the end, as is natural with a Tarantino film. It was quite a gruesome end for Domergue's character, where she was hung. And I think it was quite a gruesome end for Kurt Russell's character as well, actually. So there was a bit of gore in there. As I said, it's not as gory as most of Tarantino's films, but it's gory enough. So I think overall, I'll probably give this film an 8 out of 10. And now I'm going to throw the floor open to anyone who wants to speak.
Oh man, that they use some cowboy accent, like "Oh, be double down, howdy partner," like that. That was fun.
It's good to see Bruce Dern in a movie. He's a brilliant actor, playing the old general. Back in the day, he was a very, very well-known actor, and to have him in a modern-day film, brilliant to see him back in a big blockbuster movie. I did say earlier in the week to mention it to Connor the other week, Tarantino does like to have all these plot twists and all like that, but for me, at the end of the film, I sit there and I thought, why did all these people pretend to be different people? Why did they do that? Why did the guy hide in the cellar? Why didn't just, as soon as that door opened and the bounty hunter walked in with his prisoner, why didn't they sort him out there and then? Why did they have to pretend to be other people? That was not explained in the movie, to be honest.
Yeah.
To me, straightforward, you just sort it out there and then. You wouldn't pretend for another hour or so that you're somebody else. Someone else is hiding in the cellar with no reasoning why. He might as well have just been hiding in the cabin with all the other people. I just didn't get that. There was a few elements there, but it's a Tarantino film. You just go with the flow of a Tarantino film. But it was just niggling at me when I was watching it.
Yeah, I agree. I think there was a lot of stuff that sort of didn't go unexplained, and I thought it was sort of a good twist, with Channing Tatum and how they just killed everyone. They just sort of arrived at the shop or whatever, and they just shot all the women dead, like out just randomly. That was sort of quite a nice twist to find out, and getting the flashbacks as well of the actual action as well was really good. So I think it was a really good movie actually.
Was this
Muted.
You muted.
The handman is muted.
There we go. No, I unmuted myself. It turned itself off. Was this? I can't remember, but was film nominated for an Oscar this year?
Yeah, for
Soundtrack.
Was it the sound?
Yeah, because it was
Star Wars should have won it. Sorry.
because it was composed by
Eddie McCartney.
Yeah, one of the all-time great Western composers, I'd say.
Yeah, the guy who did The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. And
yeah, so no surprise it got nominated for an Oscar in the soundtrack. And it's a really good soundtrack as well. Like Kevin said, there's not an awful lot of music in it. But like the opening music, I think is the best bit. It's really sort of Western, and it's sort of creepy and sinister as well in a way. But yeah, I think it's a really good soundtrack overall. So no surprise it got nominated for an Oscar. Anyone else? No? Well, I guess we'll wrap it up there then. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, share, and I guess we'll see you next time. So, yep, take care, and we'll see you next time for our next review. Bye.